Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a little bit since I posted a video, but today I wanted to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart. I have another video on this topic, and it is the topic of caregiving. But today I want to do it from the perspective of a young wife and from kind of what I have been through. I think I have a unique perspective in the sense that I am both a registered nurse and a caregiver for a husband who is on dialysis and also is dealing with other chronic conditions, but dialysis is the major one. So I think that has given me a very unique perspective on caregiving. And then of course, as a young wife, I think that this is a very unique situation that we find ourselves in. So that's what this video is going to be about. If you are someone who is currently caregiving for a sick loved one, it could be for a grandparent, a parent, a sick child, it could be for a spouse, like in my circumstance, this is for you as well. This is for anybody who is in that caregiving role for someone who is chronically ill. And it's such a difficult place to be. It can be very emotionally draining. It definitely affects your mental health, and it definitely affects it affects just about every dynamic in your life. And so that's why I think it's so important to talk about it. I think that there isn't a lot of videos about this specific topic here on YouTube. I know that when I was starting this journey, I look up videos on everything. Whenever I am doing something new, going on a trip, going somewhere new, I always look up a video because I almost want to know what to expect. And when I started this journey with my husband, where he got sick with COVID and that's what landed him on dialysis, I looked at videos. Even though I was registered nurse, I had been a registered nurse for about 5 years when all of this took place, I still felt very much like I was going into this unknown territory, even though I had experienced watching families struggling with a sick loved one. Especially because of my age. I'm only 28, I just turned 28, but at the time I was 26 when this was all happening and my husband was 24. I'm like, there's not a lot of people our age going through the process of caregiving. So I hope this video is instrumental and that you learn something and that you don't feel as alone in whatever journey you find yourself in. So the number one thing that I want to talk about today is how difficult emotionally and mentally it can be to be the caregiver of someone who is critically ill. And the reason I say that is because I think everyone's like, oh my gosh, obviously it's very taxing. But I wish people would understand to the extent of how taxing it is. It is very draining, and there are moments when you feel very isolated from friend groups and from people, not because of that. And all of this, I want to say that I take very seriously the fact that my husband has been so selfless in this entire process. And I think that's very, very important. In my career as a nurse, have seen many sick people who fall into bitterness because so many of their abilities have been taken away from them, so much of their independence, and they can grow bitter and resentful, and they actually end up taking that out on their caregivers. And I have to just give kudos to my husband, who's actually sitting right over there.
Hi.
I love you.
Love you.
That he has been so selfless in this process, and that we have regular conversations about how I am doing emotionally and mentally. In the same way that I also kind of ask him how he's doing emotionally and mentally, because this isn't just a physical journey that he's on with his illness. This is also something that is very emotional for him as well. I really want people to understand, and if you're going through it, that you're not alone. This is hard. It's hard for everyone. I think to some people, it may come more naturally than others to be a caregiver and to be compassionate. For me, I am a registered nurse, so I kind of knew some of the things that needed to happen in our dynamic in order to kind of get through this process as healthy as possible. But the reality is, I myself was shocked by how difficult it was, and by how many moments I've had in this whole process where I wake up that morning and say, well, I don't want to worry about my sick loved one. I don't want to worry about my husband today. I just want to worry about me. I'm tired of being relied on, or I don't like people relying on me for his medical information and for his care. Like, I just want to be me today and worry about me today. And the reality is that there are many days where that isn't even an option. I have to be there for my husband, especially his journey has been like, you know, he's doing great for many months, and then something goes wrong, a surgery goes wrong or something like that, and then he ends up more dependent than he usually is. And he is pretty independent, chronically ill person. Like, he drives and he does so many things on his own, but when he's really sick, he has to quit driving. He has to take more of a backseat, and he needs to recuperate. And I know for some people that's not the case. For some people, their chronically ill loved one is fully dependent on them. They might be a paraplegic, or they might, whatever else they're struggling with. And that feeling of being relied on is very, very difficult, because like I mentioned, there's just some days when you just don't want to be selfless. You want to be selfish. And I think I also just want to mention that is okay, that it's totally fine to say, today, no one's going to rely on me. And those are days when you have to ask for help. And unfortunately, because this is another thing, people will just say, ask for help. The reality is, sometimes you either don't trust other people to take care of your loved one like you do. That's like a very hard bit of control to give away to someone else to come and take care of your loved one, when you feel like, well, I'm the one who knows their med schedule. I'm the one who knows how to change that dressing. I'm the one, like, I don't want to trust other people to do it because I don't think they can do it correctly, just being honest. Or I'm just worried that I'll be judged for giving that responsibility over to someone, even if it's just for a day or a few days. So that's one thing. We just don't feel confident in letting other people step in because we feel like we're the ones who have the knowledge. So that's really difficult. So I want to validate that. And then the second thing, like I mentioned, we don't want to look irresponsible or not like we're loving, or like we don't love our spouse or child or whoever it is that we care for. And that's also very difficult. We worry about others' perception of us. And I think a lot of people have been surprised to hear me say that in this season, that I do care about what others think about me. And I think that is so ridiculous. I think that's just not something I should worry about, but I do. I worry about it. I say, well, what if people look at me and say, oh, wow, you went to, shopping for the day. What about your husband? Like, I worry that people say that about me, which is so silly because I already have so many things to think about. To add that to myself of what will others think about me, it is quite dumb, but I struggle with it. And so if you're struggling with it too, now we're in this together. So those are two barriers I feel that have been huge for me in my caregiving journey and in not wanting to relinquish control to let someone else take care of my spouse for the day. But I also want to say that even though you might have those barriers to self-care is very important. I am the type of person, like I said, I look up YouTube videos when I'm trying to learn something new or going into a new experience. And I also look up a lot of articles. And I have looked up articles from very reputable sources, from all kinds of caregiving websites, companies that provide respite care, which is giving that caregiver a chance and opportunity to get some rest and give them that chance and opportunity to take a break. And they all say the same thing, that one of the main things that caregivers need is that they need rest and they need a break and that they need self-care. When the environment in the home is peaceful and full of love and full of care, that happens when I have taken care of myself. So I can best take care of my loved one when I feel good. And the reality is I'm not going to feel 100% because the journey we're in is hard. If anybody's out there saying, oh, just give yourself some self-care and you'll be 100% good to go, that's fake. It doesn't exist. This is a hard journey. We have to validate that. But self-care is extremely important because if not, you will burn out. There is something called caregiver fatigue. I have a whole video on it. Not an expert or anything, but it's just my own experience with caregiver fatigue. I have walked through it. I have walked through severe burnout, and I had to make intentional decisions and take steps to recover from that burnout. And I think that's when I really realized how important self-care was, when I realized that the burnout was detrimental to my mental health and even to his physical well-being. So I have come to realize if I don't take care of myself, we all suffer. My relationships suffer because I'm not a very nice person when I'm tired and bitter and ungrateful. So it's really important, and self-care can look like so many things. It can be silly things. It can be going out shopping by myself without him, without sometimes anyone else. It can be a dinner with my friends. It can be and it doesn't even have to take the whole day. I know for some people that is a luxury to say, I'm going to take an entire day and I'm going to go and be away from my loved one. That is not feasible for a lot of people, just to be super honest. But I also want to give this tip. I know for some people, they just don't have family members around, or their family members work full time or whatnot. And I've been so blessed that I have family members who, like my stepfather owns his own business, so my sister is able to kind of walk out and help me whenever I need help, because my sister works for him. I have my mom who is a pastor, and so she has a more flexible schedule, but not everyone has that luxury, not everyone has that blessing. So the reality is that some people just don't have the support to be able to go and have a self-care day. So I do want to say that if your loved one is on government insurance, like Medicare, Medicaid, or something like that, they will sometimes cover that respite care. That is a very legitimate thing. It's not something that you always have to pay for out of pocket. So if you need that help, do not be afraid to ask for it. There are social workers and case managers that work for doctor's office, or some of these agencies that you can just call around and they can try to run the insurance and see what will be covered. And so there are options. It's kind of unfortunate as a caregiver that you have to kind of jump through so many hoops to be able to get the break that you need. You're so busy caring for that person that when it's time for you have to take care of yourself, because the reality is that sometimes we just don't have the people that can take care of us. And so you have to care for that person, and then you have to care for yourself too. It's a lot of effort and a lot of work, but it's so important. And it's just as important to take care of yourself as your loved one, because, like I mentioned, sometimes you are the only person taking care of your loved one. Well, I hope that this video was encouraging to you if you are in that position of caregiving. I can make hundreds of videos on this stuff, so I probably will just continue to talk about this in subsequent videos, but I hope that you are encouraged. Listen, it's not wrong, it's not selfish for you to take care of yourself, because when you're at your best, your loved one's at your best. You might not be at 100%, and you might just be in the thick of it, and trust me, I just want you to feel validated. It is extremely hard, but it is very important that you do take care of yourself, that you take those steps and ask for help, even if it's from a friend group, church group, family members. Don't be afraid to ask for help, even if you have to kind of step out of that support group or support system and go to a case manager or social worker. Do it. Do what you need to do. Like, we live in a country that there are resources. I am not super 100,000% happy with our healthcare system and how things work in this country sometimes, but I am very grateful because there are resources out there. Sometimes we just have to do a little bit of digging, and YouTube is a great place to do that. So don't be afraid to do what you need to do to get some self-care in. Trust me, it's going to help you in the long run. I hope that you stick around for future videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.